Look at this. Look at that deer hanging out down there with Jesus. It is hot, and I got to find a place to cool off for a little while. We have had one of the hottest summers that I can remember in recent history, or maybe I'm just getting old and I can't handle the heat like I used to, but it does seem like we've had a really hot summer. And in today's video, I want to talk about ways that you can protect your grass from the extreme heat, especially Bermuda and zoysia lawns is what I'm going to talk about today. I found an awesome little area to cool off, and I have a friend to hang out with. So August is historically our hottest month of the year down south, and it stays hot all the way through September. So we're about halfway through August right now. We still have a good bit of hot weather to go, but fall is right around the corner. And I just want to talk about ways that you can protect your grass as the late season summer comes along when you're still having extreme heat. So I just want to start off talking about Bermuda grass. I know this time of year is very busy for most people. School has started back. Football is about to start, and gosh, people's priorities just change as soon as football season starts. You know, talk about faith and football. That's people's priorities around here, and not necessarily in that order. No, sir, Nick Saban is not coming out of retirement to come back to Alabama. I know he still lives in the state, but it's just not happening. So with people's busy schedules now, I'm starting to see people go longer and longer in between mowings. They can't mow it as often as they did back in the middle of the summer. And especially with Bermuda grass, if you let Bermuda grow for a few weeks and then you come in and mow it at the same height that you're used to mowing in the spring and summer, you're going to cut into the brown part of the grass blade. So the longer you let Bermuda grass grow, it has the brown stalk on it, which is what some people just call the legs of Bermuda, but the brown stalk is about the bottom half of the grass blade, and then the top half is green. So when you let the grass grow tall and then you come in and mow it, you're going to mow into the brown part of the grass blade, giving it a dead or sick appearance. Now, it's not dead, even though it looks that way, and if you continue to water, and as long as the growing season is active, that grass will just come right back out. But what you want to do instead, if you let your grass grow for longer in between your mowings, you want to raise your mowing height, okay? You don't want to come in and just hack it all off, because then you're going to have a brown lawn for a week. So just kind of take the top of it off, and then if you want to lower it back to the way that it was back in the spring or summer, do that gradually. Take it down inch by inch over a 2 or 3 week period. But I'm a believer that, especially with Bermuda grass, that when the heat of the summer gets here, just go ahead and raise your mower blade and let your grass be a little taller than what you need it in the spring. So with Bermuda grass, if you let your grass grow a little taller, that alone creates a canopy for the root system. So the canopy that the grass is providing the roots, you're protecting the roots from this extreme heat that we deal with here in the South. Now with zoysia grass, that may be a little different. Zoysia grass is green all the way to the ground. It's not like Bermuda grass where it's brown on the bottom half of the grass blade. So your mowing habits may be different with zoysia grass than with Bermuda grass. But I want to talk about watering. So talk about August being historically the hottest month that we have here. It's also one of the driest. So August, September, and October is our dry season. We have very dry falls here, and it could stay dry all the way through Christmas. So I want to talk about watering habits throughout extreme heat. And a lot of people think you need to water on a daily basis to keep your grass green. But when you do that, you end up causing more problems with your lawn. If you water on a daily basis, you're going to cause more weed issues. With the humidity that we have here in the South, you're going to end up with fungus and diseases, and you don't want that. So I would suggest just watering deeply once a week. And I talk about this in some of my other videos, but what I mean when I say watering deeply is water infrequently, so once or twice a week, not always on the same days, but water for at least 30 minutes per zone. So a lot of people water their yards daily for 15 to 20 minutes per zone, but I think just watering deeply once a week for at least 30 minutes is the key to keeping moisture in the ground. And it takes grass longer to recover in the heat. So now that the rain has slacked off, you're not going to see your grass recovering in these brown areas as fast as it would have maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago. So the first half of our summer, we had some excellent rainfall. So it was raining consistently the whole first half of the summer, but it's slacked off now. But people were not having to water the first half of the summer. So I want to talk about irrigation and checking your sprinkler heads, because if you don't use your irrigation system for a long period of time, there's going to be some maintenance that you need to do. And a lot of times it's very simple maintenance. So you may have grass that's grown over your sprinkler heads where they don't raise up out of the ground all the way. So just go check all your sprinkler heads, make sure they're raising up all the way and spraying properly. Also, with all of the rain that we got the first half of the summer, you could have some algae or gook build up in the sprinkler head. So you may have to just kind of pop the top off and clean out some of that algae and nastiness that has gathered up in your sprinkler heads. So you also want to check for hot spots or localized dry spots in your yard. You may have some brown areas, and it may not be a drought issue, or it may not even be a heat problem, but I call them localized dry spots, where you really just want to go get a soil probe or a long screwdriver, walk over to that brown spot and stick that screwdriver in the ground and see how deep you can get that into the soil before it starts hitting something hard. A lot of times what I call a localized dry spot is just a rock or maybe some gravel underneath the surface of your lawn there, and it's not allowing the roots of the grass to grow as deep as they need to. And it's also radiating heat, causing the discoloration of your grass. So there's really nothing you can do with those localized dry spots or hot spots. If you're hitting rock, you know, I've seen people try to dig those rocks out, but they end up just making a big mess. But, you know, at least you want to have the expectations that you now know what's underneath the ground there. You're hitting rock with your soil probe, and the grass is just not going to be green there when we're having 98-degree days and full sunlight. I hate to bring this up, but it is the time of year for fall armyworms. We're midway through August, and even though fall is in the name of fall armyworms, they come out earlier than the fall. I've seen them as early as July in some summers. But if you're not familiar with armyworms, I have another video on those, or just go to Google and you know, Google what they are. But they will annihilate a Bermuda lawn this time of year. So they don't come out in huge waves every year, but every few years I'll see them come out in a big wave, and they'll just work their way through neighborhoods and just eat Bermuda grass alive. Just to give you some encouragement, armyworms do not damage the roots of the grass. They only eat the green part of the grass blade, giving it a brown appearance, and then they'll just move on to the next lawn. So armyworms, they're not as devastating to residential lawns as a lot of people make them out to be. Now, when we're talking about crops and things like that, I'm really not familiar with how much damage they do there, but I'm just talking about residential lawns. Another insect to look out for if you have zoysia grass is spittle bugs. So they have these piercing, sucking mouth parts, and they'll just suck the green right out of your zoysia yard, giving it a brown appearance as well. So they die pretty easily if you spray an insecticide on it. So just keep your eyes out for that. They're about the size of a ladybug. They're black, and they have little orange stripes on their back. So a good rule of thumb is that if you're seeing some drought stress or heat stress in your yard, just don't mow as often. Your grass will thank you if you just kind of let it live by itself for a little while. Especially just Bermuda grass. Don't come in and hack it down. It's going to take it forever to recover in this heat. But I think I've sweated here with Jesus for long enough. Thanks for giving me this this neat little place to hang out with here. And I thank you for watching the video, and tune in for the next one. Thanks.